Welcome to our roundup of the best Android handheld gaming consoles to buy in 2022. We will be putting 6 of them against each other in a dance-off, wrong script, against each other in design, technical specifications, benchmarks, included software and the final showdown of PSP emulation performance. The Anbernic RG353P measures around 6.8 by 3.1 by 0.7 inches and weighs 209 grams. It's available in 2 colours, grey shown on screen and black transparent. It has your standard gaming controls along with a function button for easy menu access. Overall, the RG353P is very comfortable to hold. All of the buttons are in easy reach without having to adjust your hands. The Anbernic RG353P features the RK3566 quad-core Cortex A55 running up to 1.8 GHz. There's 2 gigs of LPDDR4 RAM and 32 gigs of eMMC storage, with support for 2 microSD cards. The display is a 3.5-inch IPS touchscreen with 640 by 480 resolution. It runs Android 11 and does also support dual boot to Linux OS. There is a mini HDMI to connect to a display and there's Wi-Fi 5 and Bluetooth 4.2 support. Powering it is a 3500 mAh live polymer battery, and in our tests we left it running on Antutu for 4 hours and 55 minutes. We recently reviewed the Anbernic RG353V and VS models, and they do perform exactly the same. As this comparison is Android only, we are using the V model. It measures around 4.9 by 3.2 by 0.8 inches and weighs 193 grams. There are a total of 4 colours: white, black transparent, grey and purple transparent. It is the only vertical orientation Android handheld which manages to squeeze in all of the gaming controls including the function button. It does have 2 sets of buttons on the back. I found the 2 inner buttons awkward to press without either hitting the outer buttons or having to adjust my hand's position. The Anbernic RG353V features the same specs as the P model, but essentially in vertical orientation instead of horizontal. The display is also a 3.5-inch touchscreen with 640 by 480 resolution. The V model also supports dual boot with Android 11 and Linux. There is a mini HDMI for output to a display and there's Wi-Fi 5 and Bluetooth 4.2. It does run on a slightly lower 3200 mAh battery, and in our test we left it running for 3 hours 46 minutes. Our final Anbernic handheld is the RG552. It measures 7.7 by 3.3 by 0.7 inches and weighs 355 grams due to the heavier metal alloy case. There are 2 colours, bronze grey and black. Like the other 2 Anbernic models, there are the usual gaming controls along with a function button. The inner 2 buttons are also a little awkward to press, requiring you to move your hand and hook your finger to reach them. The Anbernic RG552 runs on the RK3399 hexa-core processor running up to 1.8 GHz and has the Mali T860 graphics. It has 4 gigs of LPDDR4 RAM and there is 64 gigs of eMMC storage. There's 2 microSD cards for additional storage. There is a 5.36 inch touchscreen in 5:3 ratio with a 1920 by 1152 resolution. There is a mini HDMI port for connecting to a display, along with Bluetooth 4.2 and Wi-Fi 5 support. It runs on 2 3200 mAh rechargeable batteries and we left it running on Antutu for 2 hours 41 minutes. It is one of the 2 models that have a fan inside and we measured 56 decibels with Antutu running. The first of our 2 Retroid handhelds is the Pocket 2 Plus. It measures 5.9 by 3.1 by 0.98 inches and weighs 194 grams. There's 5 colours available: 16-bit, black, indigo, orange and retro. It has your standard gaming controls but no clickable analog sticks, although the above D-pad and below gaming button configuration is popular amongst many. It is very comfortable to play on and you do not need to adjust your hands to reach any buttons. The Retroid Pocket 2 Plus features the ARM Unisoc Cortex A75 and A55 CPUs, running at 2 and 1.8 GHz respectively. It features the PowerVR GE8300 running at 800 MHz for the graphics. There's 2 gigs of LPDDR4X RAM and 32 gigs of eMMC storage, with one microSD card for additional storage. It has a 3.5-inch touchscreen with 640 by 480 resolution. There is Wi-Fi 5 and Bluetooth 5 support. Running it all is a 4000 mAh rechargeable battery, and in our test we got a decent 5 hours 30 with Antutu running on a loop. The Retroid Pocket 3 measures around 7.2 by 3.1 by 0.9 inches and weighs around 230 grams. It's available in black, indigo, 16-bit, retro, white and orange colours. Again, it has all of your gaming controls, including for the first time in the series, clickable analog sticks. The Pocket 3 is very comfortable to hold, but the start and select button is in the most useless place ever, requiring you to properly move your hand to press either button. The Retroid Pocket 3 shares many of the same specs as the 2 Plus. There is, however, a choice of 2 or 3 gigs of RAM with 64 gigs eMMC storage and one micro SD card for additional. It has a larger 4.7-inch touchscreen at 750 by 1334 rotated. The Pocket 3 runs on Android 11 and also does not support dual boot. There is Wi-Fi 5 and Bluetooth 5 for getting online. Running it all is a 4000 mAh rechargeable battery, and we got a time of 5 hours 2 minutes with Antutu. Our last handheld is the latest in the GPD Android range, the GPD XP Plus. It measures 9.17 by 3.2 by 1.6 inches at its largest thickness including the grip. It weighs 370 grams with the Xbox style modular controller attachment. All of the usual gaming controls are easy to reach, and you can even swap out the right side for another part. We have never used the other part, and I doubt you will either. It is, however, very comfortable to hold and does not feel as cramped as the other handhelds. The GPD XP Plus features the Dimensity 1200 8-core processor with a Mali G67 GPU. It has 6 gigs of LPDDR4X RAM and 128 gigs of UFS internal storage. It has a single micro SD card slot for additional storage. The ultra-wide 6.1-inch touchscreen is at 2400 by 1080 resolution. There is a front-facing camera which does take up some minimal display area. While it does not have a HDMI port, you can use a USB Type-C to HDMI adapter. The GPD XP runs on Android 11 and does not support dual boot. It is the only model to support Wi-Fi 6 and also supports 4G LTE via a SIM card. Inside is a 7000 mAh battery, and we got a battery life for 3 hours 16 minutes running Antutu on a loop. It is the second of our devices to have a fan inside, and we measured 58 decibels whilst running Antutu. Now you may be wondering why the AYN ODIN is missing. Many customers we have spoken to were not happy with the long wait times for their orders and the total lack of customer service from AYN. Many, including ourselves, have since cancelled the orders as a result, and we do not plan to buy one. Personally, we cannot recommend them for these reasons. If we don't have one, then we can't compare it. We will now run a series of benchmarks on each handheld to see how well they perform against each other. We are running them without being connected to the charger and have not enabled any built-in gaming modes or settings to increase the performance. First, we are running Antutu, which performs various tests on Android devices for the processor, RAM, storage, graphics and much more. The two RG353 handhelds get very similar scores, which we expected to see. The V model is just in front. The two Retroid Pocket devices score close to each other, with the Pocket 3 just in front. The RG552 takes second place with an OK lead over the Retroids. And in first place by a large margin is the GPD XP Plus. The XP Plus does have a large increase, which we definitely expected. We were expecting to see more of a difference between the RG552 and Retroid handhelds though. Next, we are running 3D Mark, which primarily tests the CPU and GPU to see how well they work together. Interestingly, the two Retroid devices are in last place, followed by the two 353 models. The 552 has a good lead on those four. For the XP Plus, we did not get a score, as the results simply said maxed out, as the performance was too high. So we tried a different test called Wildlife and got 4157, in case you were wondering. And last but not least, we are running Geekbench. This tests the CPU for single and multi-core speeds. It's here where we see quite a big difference. The RG353 models take last place with almost identical scores. Despite the RG552 leading previously, it ended up in 4th place. The two Retroids take 3rd and 2nd with very similar scores, and of course the GPD XP Plus takes 1st with double and over triple the scores of the others. We thought about the best way to do this and decided to run God of War Chains of Olympus via the PPSSPP emulator to see how well it runs. We are using the same settings on each handheld, including either Vulkan or OpenGL, depending on which scores the highest, buffered rendering on, frame skipping off, device's native resolution, and 1x PSP rendering. The most noticeable difference in the results is the Retroid Pocket 2 Plus, which is 30 frames per second compared to 47 on the Pocket 3. I double checked all the settings and even totally reinstalled PPSSPP on both in case there was an issue. But I still got the same difference in FPS. Then I remembered that the 2 Plus is on Android 9 and 3 is on 11, which is my only guess for the difference in performance. The GPD XP was well over 60 FPS, so I increased the PSP resolution to 5 times, and it's there we started to see a drop below 60 FPS. It's very impressive. One important factor which may change your decision, if you have already made one, are the features of the handheld. For example, does the handheld have a good front end? Does it have screen and button mapping? Does it even have the Google Play Store installed so you can easily update apps? All of the handhelds have their own built-in screen mapping software and all work just fine. The Retroid Pocket 3 and GPD XP Plus are very easy to use. The Anbernic software is not far behind though, to be fair. Google Play Store should be on every device as standard. Sadly, Anbernic handhelds no longer have them installed. While it is possible to install them yourself, it takes time and some knowledge to do. This is a big negative in my opinion, and Anbernic really should add it in as a firmware upgrade at least. The Retroid Pockets have a very nice front end for quickly browsing and playing games. It does require a little setting up, but it is very user friendly and easy to use. The RG353V also has a front end, but in comparison is very basic and limited in use. Dual operating systems are supported on the three Anbernic devices, and with this you can decide to boot to either Linux or Android. Linux comes with an emulation station and RetroArch setup ready to go, so it's very easy if you want to get gaming straight away. You can also use custom firmwares, which features far more supported systems. This is a real benefit if you want to explore systems not commonly supported on retro handhelds. Here is a quick summary of the system benchmarks and the prices so we can compare the price versus performance. At £129, the RG353V is the lowest price if you simply want an Android-based retro handheld. In our recent review, we did find Android on it to be a bit unpolished, and the lack of Google Play Store was a big negative for us. However, with some work, you can get everything up and running to around PlayStation 1 and some Dreamcast level emulation. The same goes for the RG353P, which is a little more expensive at £154. The RG552 is kind of in the middle in terms of performance, but the second most expensive handheld at £219. Looking closely at the scores, there's a £20 difference between it and the Retroid Pocket 3. The RG552 does however have dual boot capability, which is missing in the Retroid and GPD models. In terms of emulation, you're looking at Dreamcast level running just fine. With some tweaks you can play some games with the Dolphin emulator. The two Retroid models represent the best value for money versus performance. The Pocket 2 Plus at 144 is not massively different in performance against the Pocket 3, but do remember that with the Pocket 3 you get Android 11, a larger screen, more RAM and storage. So the extra cost is worthwhile if you can stretch to the Pocket 3 price of $199. You are looking at stable Dreamcast emulation levels with some more basic games on Dolphin running. And finally we have the GPD XP Plus. The cost is twice of that of the next handheld, but with that you do get far higher performance, anything from between 4 to 6 times the performance. So in terms of performance versus price, it is very good. We saw on the PSP tests it ran at 60 FPS without breaking a sweat, and you can run more recent systems including playable games on either SX2, Dolphin and Citra emulators. If you want high end, then the GPD XP Plus is the only choice. We are always interested to read our viewers' opinions on products. Let us know in the comments which Android handheld you would buy and why. You can learn more about all of the handhelds featured in the video and order yours at DROIX.co.uk and DROIX.net. And don't forget to use the discount code Android5OFF on the checkout when ordering. That wraps up our comparison video. We hope you have found it useful. Please take a moment to subscribe if you have not already. It really helps to grow this channel. Thanks for watching and we hope to see you back in our next video.